fine balance between being available to everyone and also being available and holding your boundaries. Like there's something like huge on social media at the moment, like in terms of having your boundaries, being really firm with your boundaries and knowing what you can and can't give people. And it's like such a fine balance. I think the only thing that would be really similar would be parenting.
Yeah, I've got no boundaries at home. I'm only allowed to set boundaries here.
Fair enough.
At least no one bothers me in the bathroom here. Welcome to Phys Biz with me, Aaron King, a podcast for exercise physiologists and health professionals wanting to grow and scale in business. Welcome, Jacci, to Phys Biz. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
That's all right. So you're an exercise physiologist at Transcend Health. You're the director, and I thought it'd be best for you introduce yourself. Like, we've known each other for a little while. I always like chatting to people that are doing things a little bit different, because you're obviously in a multidisciplinary clinic.
Yeah.
You've got a few things going on, a little bit more regional, from my point of view. Yeah, tell us a bit about what you're got going on, and introduce yourself.
So yeah, like you said, my name's Jacci. I'm the director at Transcend Health. We're based in Newcastle, New South Wales. We've been here for 6.5 years. And we're a multidisciplinary practice. We started with physiotherapy and exercise physiology, providing that integrated pathway performance so people come in pain or with any kind of chronic pain, illness, disease, and we're looking about getting them back into life. And our original tagline was "Move Beyond Mediocrity," but we expanded that to a why of helping people to achieve beyond what they thought was possible. So yeah, that's I suppose in a nutshell.
Okay, great. So obviously you're in Newcastle. You started as a partnership, yourself being exercise physiology and also physiotherapy, and you've got that running in your practice. How did you start a partnership? Why did you think partnership was good for you to go into?
Okay, so at the time, myself and my business partner we were having discussions around what we'd like to see in the health space in Newcastle, and this is going back into like 2015. We had these conversations about the momentum that was building around exercise therapy and the low value that seemed to be in the health space at that time. Exercise physiology was still quite obscure and not many people knew how to refer or what to refer to exercise physiology for. I was a sole trader at the time and I was talking to GPs, I was talking to gym owners, and there still really wasn't a lot of uptake. However, a lot of people were still being referred to physiotherapy, and the physiotherapist I was in partnership with was quite forward thinking, really relied on exercise-based treatment in treating his own clients and even in his own treatment of himself, and just was frustrated with, you go into a physiotherapy clinic and it's, a 2 by 3 meter room, tiny little thing with a physio bed, and your ability to prescribe exercise was so limited. So he was looking at branching out at the time to become more exercise-based, and we got talking. Our values were very similar, and essentially from there we created a clinic that started as predominantly physiotherapy, and building on that, how do we get people exercising, how do we engage people in activity and movement, and not just go home and do some clamshells or go home and do some glute bridges, that it was an integral part of the treatment.
Yeah, wow, that's exciting. So yeah, you've obviously started with a partnership, physio, exercise physiology. A lot of people see that and go, oh, look, the physio is kind of acting as an EP, but obviously you've got different set of skills that you've combined. And in my view, all the research is really going towards physical activity, lifestyle, mental health, and all that integration. So I think you're obviously leading from the front. I'd say that back when you guys started as an integrated, more hands-off than hands-on process, that you're probably leading from the front and you were ensuring that now you're probably seen to be correct, but maybe at the time there was a lot of people thinking that, you weren't doing what everyone else was doing. So I like that. And that's why I was keen to get you on, because you were innovating and you were kind of ahead of what many others were doing and still doing, I'd say.
Yeah. And definitely there's the movement in industry, and we see it with, there's some really great movers and shakers in the physiotherapy space, particularly talking about hands-off treatment or treatment that isn't reliant on having someone do something to you, where we're placing the control of the treatment and that freedom of choice into a client or a patient's hands and saying, we're going to help you, guide you, provide you with the exercise prescription, provide you with the education. But ultimately, the hands-on is like such a small piece of the process. We need to move you into the self-management sooner. And as exercise physiologists, you and I are, and we understand that, and that's, the bulk of what we've always done. But then having the physios come on board with that and share that as well is such an exciting place to be, and to have been at the forefront of that as well, watching this become a more widely accepted mindset has been really exciting.
Okay, did you have a lot of clients or some clients coming in with an expectation that they were going to get a massage? Like, don't get me wrong, no physios get upset with me right now that I just use the term massage.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it for the broader sense, for the broader audience to understand what I'm talking about, basically being a hands-on approach. Like, did you have a lot of backlash or concern of like, that's not what I expected? Like, sometimes even I get that, and you might get that as an EP, that they're just not sure what an EP does. And they're thinking, oh, look, I'm going to go in and maybe get a massage or get some sort of hands-on treatment and I'll feel better immediately. Sometimes they do get feel better immediately, but other times it's a longer process. I imagine that's a bit stronger conversation or more relevant to a physio where they know or they think that they're getting a hands-on treatment, and what if it's not?
Yeah, that's something we're getting less and less of, but it is still something that people will call up and say, hey, do you guys do dry needling or do you guys do massage? And while some people do come for predominantly hands-on treatment, we usually are moving them between the gym setting and the physio room as well. So currently our physiotherapists would probably spend about 20% of the time doing hands-on treatment and the other 80% on exercise and education. And I think through social media and our own efforts to educate our client base, that is becoming less frequent. And so when we're getting those referrals of friends and family, people know they're coming here and they're going to get an exercise or movement-based solution, as opposed to just getting that rub down that, originally people were coming for, like, oh, can I book a massage? Can I, why didn't you touch me? Why did you just give me exercise? And having to have those conversations and guide them down hey, like, massage will give you a very limited, window of relief. Here's the thing that's going to make that result last.
Yeah, I guess it's probably going to be hard to sort of stick to your guns, so to speak, when you're trying to build up a client base and going, well, this is our niche, this is our method of operations that we believe in, this is our ethics, but it might impact on your client base or people going elsewhere to book a massage or book dry needling if that's not what you do. So I guess that might have been hard for you guys.
Definitely. I mean, when you're really just starting up a business, like every person through the door is like, thank you for choosing us. And you value them. And we still do, like, value people so highly who choose to use our service. But as we're 6.5 years old now. So when someone walks in the door and they're like, no, actually, I just want a massage, we send them off with a blessing of, hey, look, we don't do that here. We don't do dry needling here. We don't do TENS machine here. If you want that, feel free to go find that. But what we do here is predominantly exercise based, and a big emphasis on education about why that's the benefit and why we choose to use that as our treatment methodology.
Yeah, that'd be super hard, but obviously as you're getting more experienced, it becomes a lot easier because you've got the baseline of clients that you need to operate and pay the bills. Obviously, we're in it for helping clients and things like that, but at the end of the day, running a business, you need to make sure that the minimum levels of bills are paid so you can keep the doors open.
Definitely.
To see more clients.
Yeah, and you need to have staff. You need to be able to pay your staff.
Yeah, very important. You obviously went into a partnership, multidisciplinary. What have been the main benefits? And then we'll go into the challenges of a partnership. So what were the benefits to a partnership? We might start with the good stuff before we hit some of the challenges.
I think the good thing about a partnership is you've got someone else who's equally invested, so you can share the responsibility and really rely on your strengths. So someone might be really good at the bookkeeping and the financial side of things. Someone else might be really good at the creative and marketing side of things. Instead of smashing your head against a brick wall trying to do the thing that's really hard for you, you can actually focus on the thing you're good at and have the other person do the thing that they're good at. So having a partner that has strengths in your areas of weakness, definitely one of the benefits, as well as like an emotional support person of when you have a really bad day, you've actually got someone to say, look, this is shit. I'm really struggling today. And they understand where you're at. Also, when you have a win, you've actually got someone who can celebrate with you, where a partner, your family, or other people in your life just might not have that same level of awareness of, like, it's really fantastic that this person is in my clinic today and that they're allowing me to treat them. That's such a win. You go home, you tell your partner, and they're like, yeah, like, you see so many people a day. Why is this one Like, I don't get it. So those kinds of things about a partnership, those are definitely the benefits, like the wins and the support.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing that people understand in business are other business owners.
Mm.
So you don't really understand all the ebbs and the flows unless you've sort of been through it yourself. And we get a number of questions here, like with the public holidays that have just come up. Oh, why didn't you stay open? Why didn't you close? You know, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's a challenge. There's a lot of things that we want to do, but obviously we need to balance the mixture of clients, the income, what we're doing, sticking to our guns and our ethics, and just trying to smile at the end of the day when you're like, oh, some days I'd rather just shut the door and not deal with too many people. But you obviously need to as a people-based industry.
Yep.
So
Definitely.
yeah, and obviously you're laughing, and I say that because we obviously still want to help people, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just need to close the door and get shit done,
Yeah,
and let other people deal with the people and follow on from the framework that you've set up to then go and do that.
exactly. Yeah, having the team where you can have that support to have them go on and do the people facing thing when you just need a break, but also recognizing and having the awareness of your own boundaries and incorporating
Mm.
that into a work day where you're like, I know that I do my best work when I block off this time. And it might be blocked off to go do your admin or your marketing or your financials or whatever. But if you're in the office crying at the same time, it's actually, you put that in specifically because you've allowed yourself that space away from facing people and to do that deep work or to do that work that requires your focus.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely need time for the deep work, and it does take a little bit of time to build up to that. Obviously, I don't have a business partner, and some things are taking a lot longer. But I'm also fairly transparent with my team because we're a fairly small team, and people, they know the ebbs and the flows of what we're going through. So in some cases, I'm probably too transparent of like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we need to be aware of. These are the challenges. This is good. But in my honest opinion, sharing all the wins and the challenges like I would with a business partner has probably brought them along for the ride, and they've probably bought into the system, the process, the framework, and the future of Fit
Mm.
Clinic by me doing that.
Well, even so, being transparent with your team means that they can be there to support you as well. But if they don't know what's going on and you bite their head off because you're super stressed, they're going to take it personally. On the flip side, if they know you've got a million and one things going on, and it doesn't have to be like a full, verbal diarrhea onto them, just like, hey guys, just so you know, this is what's going on. I'm actually finding it a bit stressful because I'm up against my skill set here. I'm up against a time limit. So if I'm short with you, it's just, I'm going through something. It allows them the space to be like, okay, look, she snapped at me. I'm not taking it personally. I might just come back in a day or two, or I'll send it off as an email. And that level of support and awareness in the team is a good thing. And it only comes with transparency.
Yeah, look, I don't think I bite the head off my team, but I tend to maybe swear a bit more and be very short in certain things. And they know that if all they get is a no email with, hi, how you going? Hey, would you mind doing this? And it's just like one sentence, which is the response. I'm just getting to the point.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to start an email with, hope your day is good and hope you're having a nice weekend or whatever it is. Just tell me straight out in 2 bullet points or I'm
Yeah.
out. They
Yeah.
know to just, hey, this is what's happened. This is the solution. This is what I'm doing. Or, hey, what do you reckon? This, or this? Okay, good.
Actually, just remind me of something I've employed recently, and just to make sure that we're all getting our work done. So we've all got signs. So one of my team will have their headphones in. It's like, if you see my headphones in, that's my do not interrupt. I've got a cap that I'll call my thinking cap. So if you walk in the office and I'm wearing my thinking cap, don't interrupt. Like, don't go there. Send me an email. Just leave her.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I've got noise cancelling headphones as well that I put on, and it distracts the noise because sometimes, like, my office is up above the main gym floor and you still hear the noises, and sometimes you hear your name from clients or things like that. Obviously something's being said or whatever. I'm like, no, if I put my noise cancelling headphones on, I can't hear that, and you don't get distracted by just the noises that are going on. And the staff understand that if I've got my headphones on, don't bother me unless it's like super urgent and really important right at this minute. But we've also created a bit of an open dialogue where some clients will just walk up the stairs even though they're told maybe don't do that. And, hey, are you busy? Well, you're standing here now, so I need to I'm really not sure what to say right now, but I don't want to tell you yes. Oh no, sure. How can I help you? But yeah, then we sort of try to provide some sort of gatekeeping and things like that. But even then, I need to gatekeep my team at different times as well, because we don't want to create this. You want to be open and honest with everybody, but you also need to create some barriers for yourself and for your team. They don't
Yeah.
obviously want to take all the front of house hits for you.
Yeah.
Um,
So that fine balance between
yeah.
being available to everyone and also being available and holding your boundaries. Like there's like huge on social media at the moment, like in terms of having your boundaries, being really firm with your boundaries and knowing what you can and can't give people. And it's like such a fine balance. I think the only thing that would be really similar would be parenting.
Yeah, I've got no boundaries at home. I'm only allowed to set boundaries here.
Fair enough.
At least no one bothers me in the bathroom here.
If you asked your team, I'm sure that someone could probably oblige.
Yeah, no, I'll leave. All right, before this goes in an odd direction, what have been the main challenges that come from a partnership?
I think just the usual things like difference in opinion and what needs to be done at certain times. And it might not be a stark black white. I think this is a yes. I think it's a no. It could be the timing's not right where the other person's like, no, we need to do this. It could be I don't have the emotional energy for this right now, where the other person feels like, this is a growth phase and we need to run with it. And, just those general kind of differing opinions about the priorities and what needs to be done now and, where you're spending your money, or if you bring someone else on, like just that has a chance to rub. And then obviously when you've got a level of vulnerability with someone or a better rapport with someone, that you can kind of show up and be a bit more raw with them. But then the flip side of that is when you're a bit too raw with them and you tell people exactly what's on your mind, you're very short, and that then flows into the relationship. But no, ultimately I found the benefits far outweigh the things that were challenging about a partnership.
Yeah, I think it's understanding the personalities as well. Like, I want people to be direct with me, and if they're just straight with me, well, that's fine, because it's just, you're just getting to the point. In regards to the work life, personal life might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. If I'm honest, no, personal life and business life, they often flow into one another. As a business owner, it just all blends into one at different times.
Yep.
And that's why you said you need to set the boundaries. Sometimes it's hard, and a lot of the time it's hard. And yeah, my team know that I get easily distracted by the shiny thing, and I've got a million and one things. So if I seem off with the fairies on one day, or I'm rambling in a multiple directions, it's because I'm thinking about 4 things at once, and that's okay. And they understand. And just like a business partner, obviously knowing when you can be direct and just not taking it personally, and when you need to sort of be a bit more softly.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a hard fine line to judge.
Definitely. Like any relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, whether it's personal or business, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any other specialties or things like that? You've got physio, you've got EP, you've got a gym that you do some group sessions and stuff with. Like, how do you manage all of that? Do you have anything that I haven't covered?
No, so those are our 3 core services: physiotherapy, exercise physiology as one-on-one services. And we have a separate, we call it our small group Move It, which is a 4-on-1 kind of like small group personal training, but in having people engaged in regular physical activity to help address their ailments or the concerns they came to see us with. That, like you've said earlier, like quite often it's a longer term investment than just like come and see us for 2 or 3 sessions and you're done or you're fixed. It's let's educate you on, hey, you've got this concern, this can be addressed with exercise. Ultimately, you need to build your capacity. This isn't something that's done overnight. You might need 6, 12, whatever weeks. And by the time they get to that point, they're like, hey, actually, I really love being part of this community. I want to keep going. And that's probably the biggest thing for us at Transcend is, and I'll say we're a physio clinic with a community because that's what is more easily translatable to the layperson. That when you think about going to see a physiotherapist or a health professional, you don't think about joining a community. You think about that with a gym setting. And so for us to have this service, that's probably our biggest, that's our biggest offering is you can come to Transcend. You don't have to be a gym person. In fact, most people here don't consider themselves a gym person. They can do the things, they can get the results, and out of it, they've actually got friendships or camaraderie or support or accountability that wouldn't otherwise be available to them.
Yeah.
And that's actually, it's really important because a lot of people don't have support at home. Either they're their spouses, their partners aren't like that. Everyone's busy, so their partner can't be that support for them to exercise, or they are single and they don't have someone at home to support them, and they're trying to work through, how do I fit this in? And I know when I get home, I don't personally have the energy to go and do my own exercise. When I get home from work, I do it in the morning. But knowing that we could be that for someone else, of, hey, the accountability that you get from coming here is one of the things that keeps people engaged. Is they feel valued, they feel they're getting results, they're having their ailments addressed, and it's actually quite special, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, no, you're allowed to say whatever you want, toot your own horse, so to speak, because I agree with you. Like, we've got group sessions here, and we run less traditionally. We've got an entire gym, which would look like a personal training facility or a more commercial gym, and you walk in and although Fit Clinic is in the name, you don't see a clinic, you see, oh, this is a gym. Well, yes, because we didn't want people to be patients, your clients, and we wanted people to be able to come and feel comfortable and stay here, and it's an opportunity and build the community and things like that as well. Because yes, you're discharging them from the rehab, but if they're saying to you, look, I really want to come and see you and I'm not going to do it otherwise, why not provide them with a personalized training service? Now, I say that because I don't really care what I get called. Often it's personal trainer, coach, trainer, exercise physiologist. I used to care, but then when it was the difference between clients seeing you or not, you're like, well, yes, I am providing a personalized training service just as an exercise physiologist. The clients might be different. The ailments or reasons that they're coming to see you, and the skill set and the knowledge that you provide is different, but it's still personalized level of training and support and community towards working towards their goals. So it's not as different as far as treating the client as a client working towards their goals as people might make it out to believe. You're still, the skills that you learn as a personal trainer flow into being an EP, being a physio, being a people person.
Like, I used to get also hung up so much about being called a personal trainer. And like today, I still get called a personal trainer. I get called a physio still, because like people don't have the awareness of what an exercise physiologist is still. And quite often the concept I'm giving them is, it like a physio and a personal trainer, just similar. Like, we treat what physios treat, but we train like personal trainers look. So to be called that, it just breaks down a barrier, gives them a concept about what they're doing here, and sets an expectation. And when people will say, oh, this is a personal trainer you go see when you have an injury, that it just makes more sense for them. And again, using lay terms, because we're taking exercise, which people can have a really traumatic or really emotional experience of, and a big sciencey sounding word, physiology, which people were like, oh, I think I know what that means. And we've smashed them together to create exercise physiologist, and we put accredited in front of it as well. So it's just kind of this, what are we doing? And we've got some really scary sounding words smashed together. And I think you're just going to scream at me and tell me that I'm fat, I need to exercise or run marathons. So anything we can do to make it a bit softer and a bit easier to conceptualize for people, I think is a win. And that's really where I lost my ego around being called a personal trainer.
Yeah, same. I needed to speak to how the clients were listening, not how I would buy, so to speak. I need to go, well, how are the clients listening? They're coming to me saying, I have a shoulder injury, I have an injury, but I need a personal trainer. That's their understanding at the time.
Yeah.
So if you say, oh, I'm not a personal trainer that focuses on shoulder injuries or whatever else you want to say, then they go, oh, that's not for me, I need to go seek someone else. Well, you're actually the best person. It's just they've called you the wrong title, but it's not wrong in their eyes. So if you see them, then it gives you an opportunity to educate them what an exercise physiologist is, how it's different, how it's similar. But I think there's probably more similarities as far as what you learn, the skill set in dealing with people is the same. It's just the client and the goals and the needs and the process knowledge might be different, but people are people.
Yeah. And I think everyone's got an experience of when they've had someone in front of them and you're trying to tell them that they're wrong. And it's like, could be something completely inconsequential, like, I'm an exercise physiologist, not a personal trainer, but because you're telling them they're wrong, and just how that affects like the rapport that can be built and the connection that can be built when I know I can help the person in front of me. If I'm going to get hung up on this title, that's serving my ego. It's not actually helping them reach their goals. So it is. It's like letting go of the ego, really. It's like, nah, okay, I can deal with that. I can correct them further down the track and say, actually, I'm an exercise physiologist, but that doesn't matter.
Like sometimes I say, like, exercise physiologist is like a personal trainer with a medical background, and we treat both, general conditions and general goals, all the way to medical needs and things like that as well, and everything in between. So you need to speak to the people how they're listening, and then bring them along for the ride. If you're not seeing them, you can't educate them on what the differences and what the similarities are if they don't come and see you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you wish you knew now, or what do you wish you knew when you started that you know now in business?
There's lots of things I wish I knew back then. I think the big one is, particularly when you're going into a partnership or you're starting a business with other people, is they call it having an exit strategy. But really what that was is we had a shareholders agreement. So what that means is, how, if things are going to wrap up tomorrow, if things had to close, how are we exiting this? And that's something I've had to pull on in my experience as a business owner, is how are we exiting from this? And having that in place. And the advice we got was, prepare for it like you are preparing for the world's messiest, ugliest divorce, where you just need to be really clear and have expectations written out. And I thought that was such brilliant advice, because having experienced having a business partner exit the business, all the expectations were there. It made the process really streamlined. We could do it really quickly. And, it was an amicable exit. It wasn't anything that was due to a relationship breakdown. So it just made everything easy. Other things
Yes,
would just be more around, I wish I knew myself better and I had spent more time looking after myself in those early days, because we worked like you do. And I think anyone who starts a business expects to work hard, but you really can overwork yourself, and you are your best asset if you're not sleeping well, eating well, exercising well, making time for those relationships. You ultimately just hurt yourself, and then you're used to nobody.
Yeah, big advice. So if you're going to a partnership, make sure you have the exit strategy and it's all above board and all written out and clear and concise even before you start. So that's probably your biggest bit of advice if people are wanting to start into a business partnership.
Yeah. Those expectations written out are like, you think it's a headache at the time. And it's like, why am I paying a solicitor a couple of $1,000s to do this? But it has made a huge difference.
Yeah, well, like as we're expanding and I was going through some of the systems, procedures, and things that to me seemed really clear and obvious about presentation, about, things like that. I'm like, well, everyone's an adult, just be a normal person. And the advice that I got was, pretend you have 10 facilities. What do you need to have written down when you have 10 facilities? So taking that kind of advice, and like, oh yeah, that's all right. We're one facility at the moment, we're expanding, but yeah, what if we had 10 and we couldn't like oversee everything in detail? Yeah, you have to have that upfront from the outset to make sure that should these things need to be actioned, that it's all clear and concise. So partnership obviously works the same, whether it's growth of the business or a partnership or things like that.
Definitely. And it just helps to hold people accountable to the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. So all businesses have failures before any successes. Do you have a failure that comes to mind for you that turned into a success? Laughing, you got to pick one, and I can say that and that's why I say the question, because everybody has them. So I want people to understand that it's not all smooth sailing. A lot of it is, but it comes in time of work, and sometimes we stuff things up through trial and error, because trial and error is bloody expensive to stuff it up a few times sometimes. So we want to make sure that people understand that failures or doing things incorrectly is normal and part of the learning process before we actually get good at anything.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of my learnings have been around employing people, and I think having people work to rules. So there's a culture that is kind of coming to an end now, where like you kind of work to above expectation. That I think that's something that with the quiet quitting epidemic, that people are, they're only working to rule. That this my contract says, I'm only going to work to what my contract says, and I'm going to go home. I think that's really healthy, and that's certainly something that we learnt through our employment journey, of when you employ people, and particularly when you're a small business and it's your first employee and your second employee, that you need to be really clear about what your expectations are with them. And also what is an acceptable like what is acceptable in terms of boundaries, and when you can contact people and outside of work contact. So initially we were so excited when we had employees and we wanted to create more of a family culture and like, let's catch up on weekends, let's go do this extra stuff as a team. And we realized that what that did was it crossed so many boundaries that when it did come to having hard conversations with people, or we wanted to pull back on responsibilities because we could see that they were burning themselves out, it was taken as a negative thing of, oh, but don't you want to be my friend and don't you trust me? And that then affects the culture.
Mm.
You can be friendly with your staff and
Yeah.
you can have a team, but then to kind of pull them into, well, we're working 12-hour days and we have multiple hats that we're wearing. And they see that and they're like, oh, so I have to work 12-hour days to exceed expectations. I have to wear multiple hats to exceed expectations. And I've got to catch up on the weekend with you guys because we have fun together. And it just ends up creating this culture of like, we're enabling each other to just cross each other's boundaries. So that's a big failing when you realize that you've got to look after people, and part of looking after people is telling them to go home and switch off, not letting them take work home, not letting them work extra hours. You can ask that as an exception, but it's not the rule.
Yeah, it's definitely hard as a small business owner and not taking things personally as well as well. But I'll be honest, I take everything personally. That's why I need to sort of switch off and take a step back from being on the floor and, doing all the daily ebbs and the flows and go, no, I'm best off managing the team and supporting the team, and then they're looking after the clients and so forth. And that's sort of how we're separating. But yeah, definitely not taking things too personally and trying to have some level of separation of personal and business, which I say that, but that's going to be hard for every business owner and almost impossible. But you also can't expect employees at all times to work the same as you because they've got less, less skin in the game, or their experiences are going to be a little bit different, but also the outcome for them is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, a lot harder for a business owner initially, but hopefully the plan is for obviously why people start in business, that the payoff is also larger. So minimizing the short-term gratification for the long-term.
Yeah. And like, there's a few things to add as well. Like, I think that what you just said reminded me of I think it's a Richard Branson quote. If you look after your staff, they look after your customers. And the better you can look after your staff, the more you can trust them to look after your customers. And part of that is really engaging them and is the mission of, you need to look after your clients in this way, because this is the way that we do it at this particular place. And I'm going to support you to do that as best as I can. And what I need from you is to tell me, how you work best, what your ideal workflow is. Do you need time off? Are you taking your annual leave? And making it a good place to work and not making it a fun place to work. I mean, you can have fun at work, but ultimately, who cares about a pool table at work if you're not providing them with the opportunities to have a break when they need it? Or, yes, you can take that private phone call at work hours because I know that you need to get it sorted. I know it's an exception, but you're providing that if you need to do that thing, you can come to me, ask me, and then obviously within reason, go and do it. Really just makes a big difference. And yeah, we're horrible otherwise as business owners. I think everyone becomes a health professional because ultimately we're big softies and we love people. And then we become business owners and we're big softies and we love people and we want to do everything. And even to a point, we want to fix everyone. We want to help everyone. And we just end up blurring the lines everywhere.
Yeah, and then it just affects you at the end of the day, and then become less of a people person over time. Well, that's what I've found. So yeah, I've had to try to separate myself and say, look, I want to get out of need to get out of the day-to-day minutiae of what's going on, because my best role is managing the team, managing the business, and doing all of that. So then you can manage that because that's the best setup. But it's taken a while, and also taken little bit of my own mental space to realize that I don't actually need to be involved in everything. And sometimes your team will come back to you with something and be like, hey, I did this. And you're like, holy shit, that's a lot better than what I would have done. So you know what? You're better at this role and this thing. So I don't actually need to be the roadblock for you. Run with that.
Yeah. It's just enabling them to do the thing they're really good at.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice for EPs or allied health professionals starting out in business? What would you say, they need to do or need to know?
They need to know that the thing that they probably are really good at, the thing they really love, is working with people and helping people get results. And quite often business and working on the business takes you away from that. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do that is not fun. I call it the shit sandwich that I chose to eat. And that's probably the biggest thing that most people don't really get to see. They're like, I get the freedom of, I get to choose my hours. I get to choose my client. I potentially have a better financial return. And the back end of the business is an energy hungry beast that needs to be set up well. So you and your future staff will actually succeed and succeed long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely people don't understand, and that's okay. And we kind of need to accept that other people aren't going to understand, and they're going to say, oh, you're just sitting up in your office, collecting collecting the money or doing nothing and things like that, and running jokes and things like that. But the reality is most business owners in the short term are going to be the lowest paid person for a little while until it sort of kicks off the ground, and then it might change.
Yeah.
But they're going to do the most work for the most little return up until a point that can change.
Exactly. And people, I suppose a great example is like, I literally spent 45 minutes on the phone to the bank this morning. None of my employees can do that because I need the director of the business to be on the phone to deal with that particular concern. And it's like, it's a money hungry beast where that's 45 minutes I could have been seeing a client doing some really fulfilling work. And instead I had to have this really painful conversation with someone at the bank and spend half of that on hold.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you don't realize are going to take up your time, but do. And then it's hard not to get caught up in the day-to-day things that are unfulfilling or don't provide any value, but are still necessary as part of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could pick the wisdom of someone dead or alive, who would it be and why?
If I could pick the wisdom, as in having them as like my advisor.
Yeah, you went to dinner with, and you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, and you could just ask them whatever you want. Who would you invite to dinner?
Oh, geez, that's such a tough question because any given point in my life, there's like someone else I want to pick their brains.
Who is it right now?
Right now, I think I'd be picking someone like Oprah Winfrey or Brene Brown. Oprah Winfrey in particular, just being like, how do you do everything in your life and just make it such a great life, as well as providing opportunities for people and having, charity and at school for girls over in Africa. Like, how do you do all these amazing things and how did you do it and building up? Yeah, I think that would probably be the person or the people. Her and Brene Brown would be the ones I'd want to pick their brains most. Otherwise, who else? That is a really tough question. It is.
Sorry about that. Well, you've already rattled off a couple of names, so we're okay with that one.
Yeah.
We can move on so you don't rack your brain any longer. So the last and probably the most important question, or two-part question, is what's the future of Transcend and where can people find you online?
Okay, so the future of Transcend is currently we're hiring a physiotherapist. So anyone listening who's a physiotherapist in the Newcastle region who values exercise and education as the primary part of their treatment methodology, please feel free to drop me an email, jackie@transcendhealth.com.au. So that's the first thing with Transcend Health.
And that's Jackie, Jacci.
Yes, JACCIA at transcendhealth.com.au. And
just get that out.
So that is our primary focus at the moment because we are up to our eyeballs with work. And
that's good. Lucky these podcasts are only a couple of weeks behind, so maybe be relevant or maybe not, but you can definitely network with future physios in the area. If they're contacting you from the podcast, then they're definitely going to be people to. So it's only a couple of weeks ahead, so should still be relevant.
And also, I'm very much aware that we're looking for the right cultural fit. So there's physios and then there's physios that fit, and we're looking for the right fit. So I'm anticipating that it's going to be an extended recruitment process. Otherwise, people can find us on Facebook and Instagram. So Transcend Health AU is our handle there. Is the easiest way to get a hold of it. And we've also got a website, transcendhealth.com.au, if you want to check out a bit more about what we do.
Yeah, sweet. Well, thanks for jumping on. It was great to chat. And I think there's some really good nuggets for exercise physiologists and health professionals to get out of today's discussion. So that was great. Thanks for jumping on, Jackie.
My pleasure. Hopefully someone finds some value in there somewhere.
No, awesome. Well, thank you.